What did the Romans give us is the subtitle of our program at the Global Chess Festival. So we will turn back time and go back into the past in terms of innovation. So we will talk from Kevlar through wireless technologies through wood and plastic to fiberglass. We'll talk about technologies, creative minds, innovation, chess, fencing, and kayaking. So we will talk to Tímea Nagy, Olympic champion in fencing, and Rita Kőbán, Olympic champion in kayaking, as well as Judit Polgár, 5 times world champion in chess. Please, I'm asking our guests to join us on stage, and I'm asking the audience to welcome them with a round of applause. It's a wonderful experience to see all of you together. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Our topic covers a very wide range, but we do not have a lot of time, so let us concentrate on the most important. Innovation. Innovation is a very wide concept. We cannot avoid it. It has basically been the foundation of our lives in the past few years, but innovation in your field, in your sport, what does innovation mean? What are the most important innovative processes in the sport that you're doing? Welcome, everybody. Kayaking, canoeing. My name is Rita Kőbán, and I was an Olympic champion in the past century, but innovation already existed then. Well, what really helped us in kayaking was the appearance of a device called ergometer. It was a great innovation and had a very huge effect on our technique. But honestly, I don't feel safe in the new boats because they are so narrow, so unstable, that if it took me 2 years to learn how to maneuver them, for current athletes, it takes 4 years to learn how to use these boats. So hats off to them. I used to use a wooden boat and then a NASA developed boat, which was created by NASA computers. It had a revolutionary form, which is still used as the basis for current boats, but they were much wider than the current canoes. So we call them flower pots, basically canoes, but kayaks are a little bit better. Well, in my time, we used to row wooden boats, but then, and now what athletes are using are completely different from what I was used to. Now, let's talk about other devices like the oars that we are using. They have been developed a great deal as well, and different meters have been attached to the oars to measure our physiology and to measure whatever we are doing with the oar. Well, Hungarian trainers are a little bit old style, so the new generation will, I guess, be the people who are going to really use these innovative meters and the new types of oars. I've been a trainer for 8 years only, but I'm too old, basically. I'm too old to use these new and very, very innovative kayaks and canoes. Well, training systems have changed a great deal. So the new Olympic champions had physical tests before basically every training session. They had their blood tested and lactate levels tested, everything tested. And the our sport has become very scientific, quite surprisingly. So necessary, it is necessary to take into account all these aspects, but basically, if at the bottom of all this is the human, is the person. So we have to decide, of course, what to eat, but you have also take into account the physiology of the person.
Timmy, fencing. So yes, innovation is very useful indeed, and it's very good. But the heart still matters. 10 or 20 years ago, or now, or what it will be in 20 years' time. Because without the heart, nothing works. It's obviously the weapons, the blades, and the clothing changes, but without hard work, innovation won't help. So your attitude, humility, those are matters. Well, no matter what technologies NASA develops, uh, the attitude is not something that can be substituted. And if there is one or more innovation that I asked you about your own sport, what would you highlight? Well, for us, honing your reflexes and your attention is what matters. So I was poking originally a tennis ball, but now they are poking at a machine where different colored lights will light up and then disappear again. I'm so the youngsters now are not as fast when poking at the tennis ball as I used to be. And then the other is security, because now there is this fiberglass materials that are used to avoid damage, but and also the blades are not breakable, but well, sometimes they still break. So Judith, what would you highlight from chess? Well, maybe there are three things. When suspended games were abolished, so because formerly we used to play for 5 hours and then stopped for 1 hour to analyze the situation, and then we continued. But then at the beginning of the 2000s, there was a fixed time. You have 10 minutes or 30 minutes or 60 minutes for the whole game, and then you can use it as you wish. But then very often uh, players just lost their time, and they had to forfeit. But then there is the Fisher clock that gives you bonus time. So whenever you take a move, you will get some extra seconds, so that you can avoid the pressure, the time pressure. And then the greatest change was when the analyst programs and artificial intelligence uh, came into the picture. For me, it was very difficult to accept to the recommendations of an analysis program, because it was like saying that I am smarter than you are, and it was not a good feeling. But it was difficult for me. But now the analysis programs are helping players, because in a way that the best players are using them all the time, and they will give directions to the artificial intelligence and to the analysis programs. I have many questions that I would like to ask you, but can you define why innovation is taking place? Or all the innovation is for a unique objective. For instance, to make the kayak faster, or to make the blade more accurate. So can you summarize what the innovation serves in your own
Igazából azért,
sport.
mert most már századok,
Well,
tizedek és
it's
centik mentenek.
it's
És el kell
tens of
kezdeni
seconds or hundreds
keresni
of
az
seconds
emberen
is what
túl, hogy mi
matters.
van
So
még,
you need to
mit lehet
look
még beletenni,
for
amit én
what
nem
else you can
fogok
add
föl,
beyond
tehát
the
nem
human
látom, hogy így teszem,
element
vagy úgy teszem
component.
bele a lapátot
And
a vízbe.
this is not
Én mit
something that I
látok?
realized,
Esetleg meg tudok
but maybe
tanulni.
a machine will
De
realize or will
mindenképpen
find or will
nagyon érdekes
detect
felmérés
something
volt,
that I
elnézést, hogy
cannot.
úszó
And there
példát
was a
mondok,
very
talán így jobban
interesting
hallani. Tehát ahhoz,
survey.
hogy valaki olimpiai bajnok
So in
legyen
order for
800-ban, mondjuk
someone to
200
become an
gyorsan,
Olympic
ahhoz
gold medalist,
hosszanként
200
3
meters
századdal kell
freestyle
gyorsabbat úsznia, mint a
swimming,
másik. Azt kell
they need to
megtanulni
be
egy
faster
úszónak,
by
hogy egy
three
hozban hogy tud 3
hundredths.
századdal
So a
gyorsabb lenni, mint a másik.
swimmer must
Mert
learn how to
akkor
be
tud
faster
olimpiát
by
nyerni. Tehát
300ths of a second than the others.
3 századot kell valahol
So
megtalálni.
in
És az
every
úszóknál
50
ugyanígy
meters, you need to
megvannak
find
ezek a fejlesztések.
300ths
Ez
of a second.
elképesztő, ez egy
And
versenyző számára mérhetetlen.
this is
hogy neki
something
hogy
that
tudott
cannot be
300-al.
measured
Ennyit tudott
by
egy
the swimmer,
200-as
him or herself.
versenynél,
But this is what will
hosszanként.
decide a
Tehát
200
valami is
meter
lehet
competition.
12 századdal nyerni egy olimpiát, ami
And that's how you win a gold medal at the
kajakban
Olympics,
is ugyanez van. Tehát a
which is
rajtképeket
roughly
meg
5
kell
centimeters
tanulni,
difference.
hogyan
And also
rajtolunk,
for
és akkor
kayaking,
mindig rajtgépek
the
vannak,
starting
amik
machines,
állandó gyakorlás.
and how you
De
start
egyszerűen
the
nem tudják
race,
hol találni már. Tehát a régi
or how you
edzésmódszerekben
launch
már nincs ennyi,
your kayak.
nincsenek ilyen
And there,
tartalékok,
so
illetve
there are no
nincs
such
vezeték.
reserves in
A
the old
századokat, tizedeket
training methods.
sajnos már
So
csak a
the
gépek
tens and the
tudják.
hundredths
Még a szem
can
sem
only be
látja
measured
olyan
by
jól,
machines.
tapasztalt edző
Even the
sem
human
látja
eye
olyan jól,
is
hogy
not
technikailag hogy jönnek össze. Úgyhogy ezért
good
azt
enough
szoktam mondani,
to
hogy a
see
világon
that.
nagyon sokan kajakoznak nagyon gyorsan,
So
és
I tend to
azért
say
most
that many
már
people
spanyol,
can
új-zélandi,
kayak very
bármilyen
quickly in the
dél-afrikai
world, and there are
olimpiai bajnokok
Spanish
vannak.
and there are
Hát régen még a
Australian and
magyarok
South
uralták
African
az
Olympic
egészet, ma
champions.
már nem annyira,
It used to be
mert hogy
dominated
rájöttek a
by the
világban, hogy
Hungarians, but now
fantastikus
not
jó,
any
és nagyon
longer
sok helyen
because
vannak vizek, és így
many other
nagyon nagy
nations realize
innovációkat
that it's a
tesznek
good
bele.
sport,
Nekünk ugye hátrány,
and a lot of
hogy télen
innovation
túl
goes into
vagyunk,
that.
azért el kell menni egy meleg helyre például. Na most más országokban
So, for
ezt
instance, in the
könnyebben
winter, we
oldják
need to
meg.
travel
Mi
to a
hogy tudjuk ezt
warmer
megoldani,
climate.
hogy az a
In other
olyan
countries,
előny,
it's
ami
easier.
volt. Hát most azért látszik, mert hát azért
So
a
what we do is,
világbajnokságon is az ifik is, a felnőttek is
obviously,
nagyon
in the
szépen
World
teljesítenek,
Championships,
de bizony már
both the
szinte minden
juniors and
edző
the adults
igénybe
are
veszi a
doing really well, but all trainers are using technology as well. Yes, so let's have a look at the poking at the tennis ball example, because you told me that the youngsters are not as fast as you used to be. Yes, when I was training with the tennis ball, the objective was to decide to know where exactly my blade ends and where I put the tennis ball, and from whichever angle. And at the time it was different because not everything was so interconnected, and it wasn't like the trainers are focusing on the unique features of each athlete. It was more of a gut feeling. But now innovation is linked. And you can, some people can use certain part of innovation, and others can use other parts. For instance, for swimmers, milliseconds cannot really be measured by anyone but machines. But as a fencer, I don't really believe in that so much. So as I said at the beginning, I think the heart is what matters most. That's what I want to believe too. And yes, so the human factor, humanity, cannot be removed from the formula. And in chess, what was the reason for innovation in chess? For the spectators to give a better experience, for making easier, making it easier or more difficult. Well, when it comes to time control, the rule makers thought that better games will be played because people will not be pressed for time at the end of the game or in the end game. So this served giving some additional time to the players. Because then they, as I mentioned, there's a couple of seconds will be added after each move. Now the health of computers, well, the motivation of the developers was to help chess players prepare better, more accurately, and more and deeply. But all new technologies, all new developments have their upsides, but also the downsides. And first, you don't believe it, and then you tend to like it too much, and you overuse it, and then it takes some time, or it takes a learning curve to learn or to realize to what extent you want to use it, or to what extent you don't want to use it. And that applies to everything else, whether it's email or surfing on the internet. And that's one of the toughest things when it comes to technology, to strike a balance. Yes, it's very interesting, as you are saying this, that I've never heard from any older athletes that, well, this is all great, I'm really enjoying it, let's do this, let's embrace technology. In, in my experience, whenever I talk to no longer active athletes, is that you prefer the old ways. Is that because it was more puritanistic or more humane or simpler, or it was their own, or because it's no longer, they don't feel it, that it's their own, or people don't, that many people dislike
Én nagyon
change
szeretem, mert én
as
abban
a whole?
látom
Well, I do
a
like
jövő
change
útját,
because
hogy azokat a
that's
párcentiket hogy
where
lehet
the
megtalálni,
future
és ha kell hozzá
lies, really.
segítség,
How to
gondolkodás
find those
nélkül igénybe is
centimeters or
venném.
those
Az
millimeters.
árak
So
azért
I
eléggé
would use it
meghatározóak,
no matter
de
what. But
abban
prices
maximálisan
do
egyetértek, neked kell
matter as
beülni
well,
a
or the
kajakba,
price
neked
matters
kell
as well. But
odaállni, és
it is you who
bármilyen
sits
gép
in the
bármit
kayak, it
mondhat,
is you
az
who
ember
is
mindig egy
rowing,
picit
and
felül
who is
fogja
pulling
írni,
the oar.
és amire te
And
céloztál, az ez.
as
Hogy
what
azért
you're saying
el
is
ne
this, that
vesszen a sok
we
bába közt a
shouldn't
gyerek, tehát
so,
tényleg a versenyzőről szól, és hogy ő melyik
we shouldn't pour
választja,
out the kid
éppen
with
melyiket szeretné.
the baby with the
Én
bathing
szerintem az edzők nagy
bathwater.
többsége azért még mindig
So
a szeme után megy.
I think
De
it's
például
the
hála
trainers
jöttek
are still
kajakra,
following
azért
their
eléggé
eyes or
tudják ezt
their instinct. But
megvalósítani.
in kayak,
Valamiért, de nem
technology
mindenki
can be
vasárnap.
used to a
Úgyhogy
large
igen,
extent,
igazad
but
van,
not
az
by all.
ember és
So
a
yes, you
munkák
are right
elégíti
that
ezeket a
it is
dolgokat.
always the
Nálunk legalábbis
humans
így van.
Igazából te ezzel is
and the
kezdted, és
person
én ezt úgy tudom
around
talán így
whom
összefoglalni, hogy
technology
az
should be
emberi
built.
tényező
Yes,
mindig a
and
legfontosabb, az,
yes,
hogy
so
milyen
the human
technikai eszközökkel van kisegítve,
element
az
is
ugye,
always
meg már az új.
the most
Én
important.
úgy tudom, hogy létezik egy olyan
But
dolog,
I understand that there is something
hívunk, és
that is
szeretném, hogyha erről
called
ti
a
egy kicsit
3D museum.
mesélnétek
So
nekünk.
please tell us about the 3D
Nem csak
museum.
3D, hanem egy
Well, it's not
hallható
only a
magyar
3D
sportolók
museum, it's
egyesülete
the
létezik,
uh,
ugye
there
mind
is
a
an
hárman
association of
tagjai
Immortal
vagyunk,
Hungarian
és ugye itt
athletes, and we
Covid
all
alatt
three
egy
of us
kicsit
are
megakadt
members of
a
that. And during the
küldetésünk, a
COVID,
küldetésünk az
our
az, hogy
mission
minél
was
népszerűsítjük a
halted to some
sportot,
extent.
próbáljuk a
Our mission
gyerekeknek
is to promote
egy olyan
sports
útmutatót
among
adni, amit a saját
children
példánkon
and to give
tudunk
them some guidance based on our own
elmagyarázni nekik.
example. And
Judittal egyébként nagyon sokat beszélgettünk, és tisztán
we've been
emlékszem, hogy
talking
egy
a lot with Judit.
elnökségi ülésen a Judit elmondta, hogy ő hogy
I remember
látja
that
ezt az egészet, és
meeting of the
mondjuk
presidium,
például
she
az
explained
online
to us
beszélgetés,
what
az
she
online
thought about this.
történet, hogy
And that
úgy
was still an
keressük a
online
fiatalokat, és akkor ebből
meeting,
ment
and
tovább,
she
hogy
suggested that
akkor
we
mi
should
lenne, hogyha
reach out
magunkról
to
csinálnánk
the young people
egy
online,
muzeumot, de ezt a
and then
virtuális térbe
we
tennénk
came
be.
up with the idea of a
És
3D
hát
virtual museum
ezzel most
of
küzdünk,
top
szerencsére
athletes.
voltak, vagy
And this
lettek
is what we've been
támogatóink.
working on for some
Ugye
time.
20
We do
21
have
tagot
some
kellene most
sponsors, some
első körben
supporters. 20
bemutatni,
plus
illetve
1
majd az
members will be
elhunytagokat.
presented,
Az épület
and
megvan,
also some
az
posthumous
első szint
members.
megvan,
And
azt remélem, hogy
the,
majd
the building is already
látják
there.
majd a
The first
nézők.
floor
Tudom,
is
hogy ez
available.
majd egy titkos mondat,
It can be accessed already.
illetve azt gondolom,
And
hogy
I
innentől
believe
kezdve
that
kitágult az egész világ felé, hogy meg tudjuk magunkat mutatni. Olyan
now we
sportolók
can
vannak a
show ourselves to the whole
akik
world,
már nem
and the
aktívak, hanem
Immortal
kicsit,
athletes,
idősebbek.
all of the Immortal
Keleti
athletes
Ági
are
néni
no
is,
longer
ugye,
active,
Rita lett a legjobb
beginning
most
from
most
Keleti
kerül be. Én
Ági.
nagyon-nagyon büszke vagyok erre a csapatra, és azt gondolom, hogy
And
jó,
I'm
hogy
really
ezt
proud of this
Ebben
team,
egész
and I
biztos
think that
vagyok,
this
és
is a very good
felnéköltök még bármit ehhez
cause.
hozzáfűzne, érdemes
Yes, I'm
bármit, hogy neked
absolutely
mit jelent
certain
ez?
of that. So, does any of
Én
you
úgy
wish to
gondolom,
add
hogy
something
kicsit
to this?
visszacsatolva az
Yes,
előző
I
dolog, amit
think
mondtam,
that
hogy meg kell
coming
találni
back
az
to
egyensúlyt a technológiádba, illetve
what
annak
we
a
said
nem
earlier, that
használásába.
we need to strike a balance
Tényleg úgy
between
gondolom,
using
hogy a technológia az
and not
adja meg
using
azt a
technology.
lehetőséget,
But
hogy
I
ne
think
csak
technology
országok
will
belül, hanem
create
országok és
the
határokon túl is
possibilities for
megismertessünk olyan dolgokat, és elmondjunk olyan
promoting
lehetőségeket,
things
esetleg mást is
both
érdekel.
in Hungary
Jaj, ez
and
nagyon jól
abroad
hangzik, nekem nagyon tetszik ez az egész
that may be
kezdeményezés,
of interest to
szerintem
others
nagyon
as well. I think this is a
Köszönöm
wonderful
szépen
initiative, and
mindenkinek
there's a lot of
nevében igazából.
value
És
behind
azon
it.
gondolkodom, hogy
So thank you
tekintettel arra, hogy itt fogjuk azt
on
a
all of
bizonyos,
our
ugye a
behalf.
titkos
So
mondat elhangzása
since
után így
the
fog levetítődni, ezért én most akkor nagyon
3D museum will be
megköszönöm
presented
nektek,
here
Rita
on
Nagynak,
this
és természetesen
the
Polgár
stage and
Juditnak
on the
csak
screen.
szeretnék kérni,
Kőbán,
köszönöm,
Rita
érkezel
Nagy
vissza,
and Polgar
nektek
Judit,
pedig
thank
nagyon
you
szépen
for
köszönöm a
joining us
beszélgetést.
today,
És akkor
and
most
Judit
jöjjön az a
will be
bizonyos
back
titkos
later on,
mondat,
and
hogy
thank you
induljon
for
a
this
videó.
conversation.